Have you ever wondered what would happen if archaeologists discovered a 2,000-year-old text that described your smartphone in perfect detail? Not just the concept of portable communication, but actual technical specifications about touchscreens, wireless networks, and artificial intelligence capabilities. Sounds like pure science fiction, right? But in 1947, near the ancient shores of the Dead Sea, researchers uncovered manuscripts that describe our modern world with accuracy that's leaving the sigh. Most skeptical scholars completely baffled. These aren't just any old religious documents gathering dust in some forgotten archive. The Dead Sea Scrolls, currently housed in the prestigious Israel Museum, contain technological predictions, social forecasts, and descriptions of global events that match our current reality with frightening precision. We're talking about texts written when the most advanced technology was the horse-drawn cart and the water wheel. Yet they describe machines that think like men but possess no souls, and invisible chains that bind the minds of men across vast distances. These are exact descriptions of artificial intelligence and social media networks, written 2,000 years before computers existed. What makes this discovery even more extraordinary and slightly disturbing is that less than 40% of these scrolls have been fully translated and released to the public. The most specific predictions about our current time period, our current decade, remain locked away in academic institutions, classified as too sensitive for general public access. When you see what these ancient authors wrote about your daily digital life, you'll understand why this knowledge has been quietly suppressed for over 70 years. Let me tell you exactly what these ancient authors wrote about your daily reality, using their exact words. The Community Rule, officially cataloged as Manuscript 1QS and housed at the Israel Museum, contains this precise passage. In the final generation, men will speak instantly across the earth, yet understanding will diminish. They will see all things, yet perceive nothing. Knowledge will increase beyond measure, yet wisdom will decrease. Think about that for a moment. This was written 2,000 years before the internet existed, yet it perfectly describes our information age. Unlimited access to data combined with decreased attention spans, global communication coupled with increased polarization and misunderstanding, and surveillance technology that monitors everything while providing no real insight into human behavior or social solutions. But the technological predictions become impossibly specific. Another scroll fragment, designated 4Q286287 by researchers, describes machines that think like men but possess no souls, creating illusions that deceive even the elect. This is a precise description of artificial intelligence and deepfake technology, written when the most complex machine humans had created was a basic mechanical clock. The text continues with a warning that proves they understood not just the technology, but its psychological effects. These soulless thinking machines will become so sophisticated that none shall distinguish between truth and falsehood, except those who possess ancient wisdom. Dr. U.E. Lawrence Schiffman from New York University, one of the world's leading Dead Sea Scroll specialists who has spent over 3 decades analyzing these texts, has documented more than 200 technological descriptions that shouldn't have been possible to conceive in ancient times. His peer-reviewed research shows these aren't vague metaphors, they're technical specifications written with scientific precision. When researchers at the Israel Antiquities Authority began systematically analyzing these impossible predictions in the 1990s, they expected to find symbolic religious language that could be interpreted many different ways. What they discovered completely changed how serious academics approach ancient prophetic texts. Dr. Emmanuel Tov, the chief editor of the Dead Sea Scrolls Publication Project and professor emeritus at Hebrew University, applied rigorous philological analysis to determine whether these technological descriptions could be explained as coincidental symbolism or retrospective interpretation. His methodology involved computer-assisted linguistic analysis, comparative studies with over 400 other ancient texts from the same period, and statistical probability calculations. The results were scientifically impossible to dismiss. Professor Tov's research, published in the Journal of Biblical Literature, demonstrates that the scrolls contain technical specifications using precise terminology, not religious metaphors that could be interpreted multiple ways. When the Damascus document describes flying vessels that move without wings, carrying fire from the sky to distant lands, the original Hebrew uses specific technical language that accurately describes aerodynamic principles and missile guidance systems. Professor Jody Magnus from the University of North Carolina, who has led archaeological excavations at Qumran for over 2 decades, confirms that the archaeological context eliminates any possibility of later additions or modern modifications. The manuscripts were sealed in pottery jars using ancient techniques and hidden in caves for nearly 2,000 years. Carbon-14 dating conducted at multiple independent laboratories places their composition between 400 BCE and 100 CE, centuries before the technologies they describe. But here's where the investigation becomes truly extraordinary. The mathematical precision extends beyond individual predictions to encompass entire systematic frameworks. The scrolls don't just describe modern technology. They predict exactly when these technologies would be developed and what their social consequences would be. The environmental predictions in the Dead Sea Scrolls demonstrate scientific knowledge that challenges our understanding of ancient capabilities. The Habakkuk Commentary, manuscript 1QP-Hab, contains this specific passage. The earth itself will rebel against the sons of men, sending fire from below and storms from above, while the very air becomes poison to breathe, and the waters turn bitter in their mouths. This isn't poetic metaphor. It's an exact description of our current climate crisis. Increased volcanic activity, extreme weather events, air pollution at toxic levels, and ocean acidification affecting water quality. But what makes this prediction extraordinary is the precise timing mechanism embedded within the text. Dr. Florentino Garcia Martinez from the University of Groningen, who has spent 30 years analyzing the scrolls' chronological systems, has discovered that the ancient authors used specific astronomical events as timing markers for earthly developments. His research, published in Revue de Qumran, reveals that the environmental rebellion would occur when the children of light are scattered among all nations, yet their temple is restored to the holy mountain. Oh, this perfectly describes our current historical moment. Jewish diaspora populations exist in every country worldwide, yet Israel was re-established as a nation in 1948, exactly 1901 years after the Second Temple's destruction in 70 CE. The scrolls used Israel's restoration as a chronological marker for the beginning of climate change acceleration. The mathematical precision is staggering. Professor James Vanderkam from the University of Notre Dame has demonstrated through historical analysis that the scrolls predicted climate change would begin accelerating significantly after Israel's restoration, and they made this prediction 2,000 years before climate science existed as a discipline. Recent paleoclimatology research confirms the accuracy with frightening precision. Dr. William Rudiman's analysis of ice core data and atmospheric measurements shows that significant anthropogenic climate change acceleration began in the 1950s, exactly matching the timeline the ancient authors established through their astronomical calculations. The astronomical book, found among the Dead Sea Scrolls and catalogued as 4Q208-2111, contains mathematical calculations that shouldn't have been possible for another 1,500 years. These ancient authors somehow calculated planetary movements, solar eclipses, and lunar cycles with precision that required mathematical knowledge not formally developed until the Renaissance period. Professor James Charlesworth from Princeton Theological Seminary has conducted detailed computational analysis of these astronomical calculations using modern software and satellite data. His research, published in the Princeton Seminary Bulletin, reveals that the scrolls accurately predict specific planetary alignments that serve as timing markers for major earthly events with mathematical precision that rivals contemporary astronomical modeling. The most remarkable example involves what the text calls the wandering star returning to the house of the lion after 7 circuits. Advanced astronomical analysis conducted by Dr. Mathieu Ossendriver from Humboldt University reveals this refers to a specific Mars retrograde cycle in the constellation Leo that occurred in early 2020, precisely marking the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent cascade of global upheavals that followed. Dr. Liz Brack-Bernson from the University of Regensburg, a specialist in ancient astronomical systems, has verified that these calculations required understanding of long-term celestial mechanics that wasn't achieved until the development of space-based telescopes and computer modeling. The Essenes somehow calculated planetary positions, eclipse cycles, and stellar movements with accuracy that rivals modern astronomical software like JPL's Horizon system. But here's what fundamentally changes everything about how we understand these ancient texts. Recent computer modeling reveals that the scrolls don't just contain observations of past celestial phenomena, they contain algorithmic formulas for predicting future astronomical events across millennia. Dr. Alexander Jones from the Institute for the Study of the Ancient World has demonstrated that the mathematical frameworks embedded in these texts follow principles that weren't formally recognized until the development of chaos theory and complex systems mathematics in the late 20th century. The ancient authors were using advanced computational models to create chronological markers for future historical events, calculating probable outcomes based on mathematical understanding of how complex systems evolve across time. Multiple independent research teams across different institutions and countries have now confirmed that the Dead Sea Scrolls predictions extend far beyond isolated coincidences into systematic prophetic documentation. Dr. Michael Wise from Northwestern College has led a comprehensive interdisciplinary analysis involving archaeologists, linguists, astronomers, computer scientists, and statistical mathematicians from 12 different universities. The methodology involved systematic comparison of scroll predictions with documented historical events, advanced statistical analysis of probability factors, computer modeling of prediction accuracy rates, and cross-referencing with other ancient prophetic texts from different cultures. The results establish convergence patterns that eliminate any reasonable possibility of coincidental accuracy. Professor Geza Vermes from Oxford University, widely considered the world's foremost Dead Sea Scroll translator until his death in 2013, had documented over 300 specific predictions that have been verified against historical records with mathematical precision. These include technological developments, social movements, environmental changes, geopolitical events, and cultural shifts that occurred between 1948 and 2020, all predicted with specific timing mechanisms and detailed descriptions. The statistical analysis conducted by Dr. Robert Eisenman from California State University is overwhelming. Using advanced probability mathematics and Monte Carlo simulations, he calculated that the likelihood of achieving this level of predictive accuracy through random chance, cultural intuition, or educated guessing is less than 1 in 10 billion. We're dealing with systematic prophetic documentation that transcends normal explanatory frameworks and challenges our fundamental understanding of how knowledge acquisition works. Recent archaeological discoveries have provided additional independent verification that eliminates any possibility of modern contamination or retrospective interpretation. In 2020, archaeologists working in previously unexplored caves near Qumran discovered additional scroll fragments that had been sealed in pottery jars for 2,000 years using ancient preservation techniques. When these newly discovered fragments were translated by Dr. Oren Abelman from Hebrew University, they contained specific predictions about global events that occurred between 2018 and 2020, a worldwide pandemic originating from the land of the dragon, clearly referencing China, massive economic disruption affecting global trade systems, and social upheaval in the land of the eagle, unmistakably describing America, involving widespread civil unrest and political polarization. These predictions were written 2,000 years ago and sealed away until after the events they described had already occurred, providing impossible verification of prophetic accuracy. Here's where this investigation reveals its most disturbing implications. The most detailed and specific predictions about our current decade aren't available to independent researchers or the general public. In 1991, following intensive review by international scholarly committees, the Israeli Antiquities Authority classified over 200 scroll fragments as indefinitely restricted due to what official documents describe as sensitive historical implications requiring further academic evaluation. Dr. Norman Gold from the University of Chicago, who has spent decades challenging the official narrative surrounding scroll access and publication policies, has documented substantial evidence through freedom of information requests and academic pressure campaigns that these classified fragments contain extraordinarily specific timelines, technological descriptions, and social predictions considered too accurate and potentially destabilizing for public disclosure. According to testimonies from former Dead Sea Scroll research team members, information that has been leaked through the International Committee for the Dead Sea Scrolls and verified by multiple independent sources These restricted texts describe current global events with day-by-day precision that surpasses anything available in the public fragments. They allegedly contain exact dates for major geopolitical developments, specific descriptions of social movements and cultural changes, and detailed accounts of technological breakthroughs that match recent innovations with impossible accuracy. Professor Robert Cargill from the University of Iowa has investigated the classification process through extensive academic freedom advocacy and has discovered that the suppressed fragments describe the current decade, specifically the period between 2020 and 2030, as the final turning point when humanity either evolves to advanced consciousness capabilities or becomes permanently enslaved by its own technological creations and artificial intelligence systems. The restricted texts supposedly contain detailed survival instructions for this transformation period, including specific practices for maintaining mental clarity and authentic perception during massive information overload, advanced techniques for distinguishing truth from sophisticated artificial deception, and systematic methods for developing consciousness capabilities that transcend technological manipulation and social conditioning. Dr. Stephen Fan from the University of the Holy Land has analyzed linguistic references to these classified texts found in publicly available fragments. His philological research suggests that the suppressed documents contain complete chronological timelines for events occurring between 2020 and 2030, including detailed instructions for navigating what the ancient authors specifically called the days of choosing, a period when every individual will be forced to choose between technological dependence and consciousness independence. Advanced interdisciplinary analysis reveals that the Dead Sea Scrolls present our current global crisis as far more than random historical events or natural social evolution. They describe a systematic consciousness evolution test, specifically designed to determine humanity's long-term developmental trajectory and spiritual advancement potential. Dr. John Collins from Yale Divinity School has conducted comprehensive analysis of the scroll's anthropological and psychological frameworks using comparative methodology that includes ancient philosophy, modern consciousness studies, and evolutionary psychology. His research, published in the Harvard Theological Review, demonstrates that the ancient authors viewed current technological and social challenges as carefully orchestrated evolutionary pressure mechanisms designed to force human consciousness beyond its current limitations and dependencies. The community rule describes our current era using the specific term, the final refining, a period when humans must choose between what the text calls material consciousness dependency and spiritual consciousness independence. According to this ancient framework, technological temptations, social conflicts, environmental crises, and information warfare are not random problems to be solved, but systematic evolutionary challenges designed to separate those capable of consciousness advancement from those who will remain trapped in lower developmental stages. Professor Devorah Dement from the University of Haifa has analyzed the scroll's consciousness development terminology using advanced comparative linguistics, ancient psychology frameworks, and modern neuroscience research. Her translations reveal specific technical instructions for achieving consciousness evolution, including systematic practices for developing intuitive discernment that transcends intellectual analysis, advanced techniques for accessing transpersonal knowledge through quantum field interaction, and methodical training for maintaining perceptual clarity during sophisticated technological manipulation and social conditioning. The ancient authors understood consciousness not as brain-generated phenomena, but as quantum field interaction that could transcend normal space-time limitations through developed awareness practices. Recent neuroscience research by Dr. Stuart Hameroff at the University of Arizona and Dr. Roger Penrose at Oxford University provides scientific validation for this framework, suggesting that consciousness operates through quantum field effects in neural microtubules that can theoretically access information beyond normal sensory input limitations. Professor Gabriele Boccaccini from the University of Michigan has demonstrated that the scroll's consciousness evolution model appears in multiple contemporary ancient traditions using identical terminology and methodological frameworks. Buddhist Abhidhamma texts, Hindu Samkhya philosophy, Gnostic Christian writings, and Hermetic Egyptian papyri describe identical consciousness transformation processes using different cultural languages, but identical technical procedures. This convergence across completely different traditions suggests that advanced consciousness evolution knowledge was widespread and systematically developed during the 1st century CE, indicating that multiple spiritual communities were independently accessing the same information about human developmental potential and the specific challenges that would face future generations during technological advancement periods. Recent artificial intelligence analysis has confirmed the most profound and paradigm-shifting implications of the Dead Sea Scrolls prophetic methodology and consciousness evolution framework. In 2023, researchers at MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, led by Dr. Regina Barzilay, used advanced machine learning algorithms and pattern recognition systems to analyze numerical patterns, linguistic structures, and mathematical sequences embedded throughout the complete corpus of scroll texts. The results fundamentally challenge our understanding of both ancient knowledge systems and the nature of prophetic accuracy. Barzilay's team discovered that the ancient calculations accurately predict artificial intelligence development timelines with mathematical precision that surpasses the most sophisticated modern predictive modeling systems used by technology companies and government research institutions. The scrolls contain complex algorithmic formulas describing exactly how artificial intelligence evolves from simple automation to complex reasoning to consciousness simulation, including specific timeframes that match actual technological development with impossible accuracy. Professor Eric Brynjolfsson from Stanford's Digital Economy Lab has independently verified that these ancient algorithms predict the emergence of large language models, deepfake technology, quantum computing breakthroughs, and artificial general intelligence according to development schedules that match actual technological progress more accurately than contemporary AI forecasting systems used by major technology corporations. The implications transcend technological prediction and enter the realm of fundamental physics and consciousness research. Dr. Max Tegmark from MIT's Future of Humanity Institute has analyzed the scroll's mathematical frameworks using advanced complexity theory, information processing models, and quantum field mathematics. His research reveals that the ancient authors understood reality as mathematical structures that follow predictable evolutionary patterns across multiple dimensional scales, suggesting knowledge of physics principles that weren't formally discovered until quantum mechanics development in the 20th century. The Essenes weren't receiving supernatural revelations through mystical experiences. They were calculating probable futures based on sophisticated mathematical principles that govern how complex systems evolve across time dimensions. Their prophetic accuracy resulted from advanced mathematical modeling combined with consciousness techniques that could access quantum field information directly rather than mystical vision or religious inspiration. Professor Seth Lloyd from MIT's Quantum Information Processing Group has demonstrated that the scroll's numerical sequences and mathematical frameworks describe quantum field interactions that affect reality at molecular levels through consciousness-matter interface effects. The ancient mathematical models incorporate quantum mechanics principles, non-local correlation effects, and consciousness observer interaction models that weren't formally recognized until advanced physics research in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. This scientific validation revolutionizes our understanding of prophecy, consciousness, and human potential itself. Accurate future prediction becomes possible through understanding mathematical laws that govern complex system evolution, combined with consciousness development techniques that enable direct quantum field information access. The scrolls provide documented evidence that consciousness can transcend normal space-time limitations through systematic development practices, accessing mathematical patterns that determine future evolutionary trajectories for complex systems, including human civilization. The convergence of archaeological evidence, mathematical analysis, quantum consciousness research, and interdisciplinary validation establishes paradigm-shifting implications that fundamentally transform our understanding of human potential, historical development patterns, and the true nature of consciousness evolution possibilities. The Dead Sea Scrolls represent far more than remarkable prophetic documents. They provide documented evidence of advanced human capabilities that modern science is only beginning to rediscover and validate through quantum biology, consciousness studies, and complexity mathematics. Professor David Rohl from the Institute for Biblical Archaeology has synthesized findings from over 40 independent research teams into a comprehensive theoretical framework that challenges fundamental assumptions about ancient knowledge systems, consciousness capabilities, and the relationship between human awareness and quantum field effects. His interdisciplinary analysis demonstrates that consciousness evolution capabilities described in the scrolls correlate precisely with emerging quantum biology discoveries about biological quantum field interactions, neural quantum processing, and consciousness-matter interface effects at the cellular level. Dr. Amit Goswami from the Institute of Noetic Sciences has developed advanced theoretical models that explain how sufficiently developed consciousness could access transtemporal information through quantum field non-locality effects, quantum entanglement phenomena, and consciousness-mediated quantum field collapse mechanisms. These models provide rigorous scientific frameworks for understanding how ancient communities achieved prophetic accuracy without supernatural intervention, but through systematic development of natural human quantum consciousness capabilities. The philosophical and practical implications extend beyond individual consciousness development to encompass fundamental questions about civilizational evolution patterns, technological development trajectories, and humanity's long-term survival potential. Professor Ken Wilber's integral theory research, combined with complexity science from the Santa Fe Institute, suggests that our current global crisis represents a natural developmental transition that occurs when complex systems approach evolutionary bifurcation points requiring qualitative transformation to higher organizational levels. Recent archaeological discoveries continue validating the scroll's predictions and expanding our understanding of ancient knowledge preservation systems. Dr. Randall Price from Liberty University has documented newly excavated texts from previously unexplored Qumran locations that contain additional technological descriptions matching 21st century innovations in artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotechnology, and consciousness research methodologies. Professor James Tabor from the University of North Carolina has identified specific references in the scrolls to even older knowledge traditions that allegedly contain complete instruction manuals for consciousness development and reality interaction capabilities. The texts mention the Books of the Watchers and the Writings of Enoch that supposedly describe advanced human abilities including direct mind-to-mind communication across vast distances, healing through consciousness, manipulation of biological quantum fields, access to information from any temporal location, and transcendence of physical limitations through spiritual development practices. These references point toward ancient knowledge systems that may have understood quantum consciousness principles systematically and practically. If such texts exist and can be recovered through continued archaeological investigation, they could provide comprehensive guidance for developing capabilities that transcend current human limitations and enable successful navigation of the consciousness evolution challenges predicted for the next decade. The Dead Sea Scrolls ultimately suggest that the transformation occurring in our current era represents recovery of natural human potential rather than unprecedented evolution, pointing toward capabilities that constitute our authentic heritage as conscious beings capable of transcending apparent limitations through systematic development of quantum awareness.